If you live in the suburbs, encounters with the homeless might be limited to the people begging for change outside Union Station. The GO train quickly takes you away from the strains and stresses of the urban core. But as the homeless population grows, even suburban cities are facing the same kind of problems downtown Toronto has experienced. This week, the region of Peel is opening its first ever homeless shelter in Brampton. Video journalist Mike Wise reports on the people in these bedroom communities who are making their beds on the streets.
It's hidden away in an industrial area, a building once used as a garage for Brampton's Works Department. But when renovations are over, this will be home for up to 40 homeless men each night this winter. This is all new territory for the region of Peel. Its first major attempt to address a problem it is only now beginning to learn about.
In Peel, I think we're more likely to find that the people who are homeless here are people who are part of this community, who have lived here for a very long time.
The need for a permanent homeless shelter became obvious here at St. Mary's Church in downtown Brampton.
Isn't it delicious?
Last winter, parishioners started an Out of the Cold program one night a week, serving free meals and providing the homeless with a warm place to stay. It, more than anything, put some faces on a problem many didn't think existed in the suburbs.
Because we don't have homeless laying on subway grates, you know, so you're not stepping over them like you are some areas of Toronto. People just didn't believe that we really had them. But I knew that we did.
It's almost been too successful. Last year, they might have had a dozen people sleep over. Some nights this fall, they've had more than 30. There are now 5 churches involved in Brampton's Out of the Cold program. It's a full community effort. During the day, outreach workers from the John Howard Society help homeless people by providing computers for resumes. It's services like this that helped Alan Reed get back on his feet. For him, homelessness is not a new problem. Although he has his own apartment now, he spent the past 16 years living on and off the streets of Brampton. He knows where the problem hides itself.
Like you've got the bus shelters, the train shelters, anywhere. It's just like Toronto in a way. Like wherever it's warm, that's where they go. Nobody wants to see them eating out of garbage cans and that. I've done that. I've been through that whole route.
Where did you stay when you stayed?
Right there.
What was that like?
Not bad. It was quiet. Like you just had to get out early in the morning, before the traffic comes up.
Alan says he knows of 40 to 50 people living on Brampton streets this winter, most of them congregating in the city's downtown area, making it easier in a way to provide them with help. But just south of Brampton, in Mississauga, it's a whole different situation.
The way in which it's spread out, it is a very diffuse city, first of all, and it has many pockets, many neighborhoods that serve as centers. So that the number of homeless individuals in any given location is really probably a half dozen or a dozen at most.
Jeff Brown first noticed people sleeping in parks and under bridges in Port Credit in southern Mississauga a few years ago. Now, 2 nights a week, his church is the only one in the city to let the homeless sleep over. That usually means no more than a couple of people, drawn from the immediate Port Credit area. Not what he thinks is a true indication of the number of homeless in the city.
There have been 8 to 10 different individuals that have availed themselves of our shelter over the time that we've been open. And if you multiply that out by the number of communities like Port Credit in Mississauga, it comes out to probably 80 or 100 individuals.
This night, though, his Unitarian church will be filled to capacity with homeless commuters.
Here's your homeless guys all waiting for a ride.
There's no church available in Brampton tonight, so these homeless people are being driven south in a special Out of the Cold van. It'll take 2 trips to move everybody, but it's cold, and they don't mind the wait.
This will be the first meal of the day. All I've had really to snack on is chocolate ladyfingers and O. Henry bars. Little tiny Halloween O. Henry bars.
Sean is 18 and has been living on the streets for the past 2 years.
And I've gone through minus 40-degree weather, plus the wind chill, with nothing but a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, and a jacket. And this hat that I'm wearing now, and let me tell you, you're sleeping on concrete in that kind of weather, you really appreciate when you get a nice warm place to sleep in.
In cities built for the automobile, this van is essential. Behind the wheel is Pastor Michael Case, who, with his own evangelistic ministry, makes it his calling to patrol the streets each night, logging hundreds of kilometers, keeping tabs on areas where he knows homeless people sleep, like this spot called The Village, in the shadow of Brampton City Hall.
If you look over to your left here, in this cluster of trees, there's a couple of females that sleep over here. There's nobody home. This is all their belongings.
Brampton he knows pretty well, but he has to work the whole region.
We've been going out into the streets of Mississauga, Port Credit, Streetsville, Malton, Caledon sometime, and Bolton. We're not getting the numbers. We know that there are homeless individuals out there, but where they are, we don't know.
Part of his job is trying to make contact with homeless people, visiting 24-hour donut shops where some people are known to stay.
Got enough coffee and everything, soup, and yeah.
Doing what he can to get the word of the shelters out.
This is the flyer, and this is a smaller one, which I'd love to kind of put that right in your window there or something. Or this area is, I don't know what it is. This is Mississauga at 5 and 10, and there's about 4 fellas that live here.
It takes time to build trust with a new homeless person, and he's finding few willing to be driven away from their makeshift homes to spend the night at the Brampton shelter.
They want to stay in Mississauga. So if there was a shelter facility in Mississauga, I believe that they'd use the facility.
There was supposed to be one here. The original plans in the region of Peel called for 2 shelters to open this winter, one in Brampton and one in Mississauga. But only Brampton was able to find a space, one building to serve the entire area. In some locations, shelters in Toronto are actually a closer drive. But many of the region's homeless say they have roots here and that the big city isn't an option.
I don't feel very safe out in Toronto. At least out here, I now have pretty much a support group. Being with my fiance on the streets, we support each other. This is reality kicking you really hard in the head.
The policymakers in Peel are treating this year as a kind of testing ground. They'll study their efforts this spring, evaluating the problem and its cause, a lack of affordable housing, and try to come up with more detailed solutions for the future. But as for this year, there's a fear they might have already missed the worst off.
I feel personally myself that the program got on the way too late and the cold weather started to sink in. So I personally believe that a lot of people have probably hightailed it to Toronto.
And because they left, they might not realize that there's people trying to help in the cities they used to call home. Mike Weiss, CBC News, Brampton.
How do you think the suburbs should deal with homelessness? Let us know. Also share your thoughts about our program and the stories we do. Our phone number is 205-7700. Our fax number is 205-7166. And here is our email address, tvnews@toronto.